Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, it's Joni Young here, and I'm going to be showing you guys in acrylic paint how to paint this lady with violets and flowers all over her in really pretty colors today. So be sure to check out the full list of colors and brushes below this video in the description box. Thanks for watching. And I'm going to just go ahead and get started right away. This is a 24 by 30 canvas. I covered it in gray paint. And I've got this gray paint, it's slate gray that I used. I applied 2 coats, let it dry. And I've got titanium white, phthalo blue, turquoise, bright aqua green, a little bit of neon yellow cool, warm, orange, pink, violet, light blue violet, Mars black, and cadmium yellow light hue. So I'm gonna start by coming in with her hat. And I'm gonna be using an angle brush. So I've got this number 10 one here, and to start I'm going to make a dark green color with my black and my yellow. So I'm going to start it up here, and the top of her hat, the very top, is just a little half circle like this. So that's all I want you to think about doing right now, just a little half circle. Okay. Then we're going to go slant down like this. We'll bring that down a little bit lower. Angle. Okay, a little bit of water on my brush just to help that paint flow out better. Pull that down there. And then I'm going to come around, curve down right to about here, scoop down, up to meet right here. So you're going to start, you can start from there, scoop down, and then it goes right off the canvas, the top of it, down the other side to about here, and then we're going to round that corner out and bring it down here. So we've got our shoulder there, and the other one here. So you can kind of just eyeball it like this. Her arm's going to kind of sweep down here to her elbow, and the rest goes up into her wrist here. And she's got some fabric bunched that we're just going to work on a little bit later. So I'm going to paint this in. With the yellow and the black and a lot of water. And then just wiggle. I love using the angle brush. It's really great for creating twists and folds in fabric. Then we're going to pull her waist in, her rib cage, about here, and then bring it slightly out, so a little in here and then out. We're going to come in a little bit higher on this side. Her arms coming out here to her elbow. And then down, or her hand is probably on her hip. Okay, so taking a bunch of water again with my paint colors, yellow and black. Just gonna go across right here. I'm going to use a larger brush now to fill all this in quickly before my paint starts to dry. This is a number 50 Filbert. Where I want to have more shadows, I'll use more black, and where I want it to be a little bit lighter, I'll use obviously more of the yellow. Okay, I'm going to apply the highlights and the moss on her hat right now on this part, because this is the lighter part, and then I know where I can come in and add the black. So I'm going to be using a 1-inch angle mop brush. I'm going to take that yellow. There's a bit of black in there. We're just going to make a dark green this way. And I'm just going to start tapping. So as it folds over here, I'm gonna kind of tap on an angle. I'm going to turn my brush this way so I can easily come in along the edge here. These are really fun brushes to use, by the way, you guys. If you don't have an angle mop brush yet, you should really get one, because not only are they fun to use, they're really helpful with anything that you need to get on an angle with, basically, and add foliage to. It just gives you more control. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of white now with that yellow-green mixture, and I'm going to come in and add some more highlights, making this brighter. And I'm going to come in with black and use my angle brush. So we'll just go right underneath. And bring this down a little bit past her shoulder. And we've got our neck right in here. And then we can't see her face. And take a little bit of yellow. And bring a little bit of light in here. We're not going to see her features, but I want to separate her face from the hat and the dress. So this is where I'm going to come in and create that V shape. But a little bit more light right here over her shoulders. So I'm going to take a bit more white, add that to my yellow. And then work out the rest down her arm. Take more black and start to come in here. all we're doing is patching in light and dark areas, so don't worry about how it looks. I'm gonna just add a little hoop right here with my angle brush. You can use any brush that you want. So white and yellow. A little bit more light here on her shoulder. And then across her chest. So I'm pulling it round like this, kind of scooping, and then I just kind of soften and go down. It's a little bit lighter through here, but not as light as there, because we've got the shawl part of her dress that goes over top. It's like that sheer fabric, right? And then her hands, and just a suggestion, finger, so over, and then on an angle, and then scoop down. Okay, just rinsing all that excess paint out of my brush, and I'm going to reload it. I'm going to come out a little bit wider right here, and then soften. Collarbone. It's just very, very kind of abstract, impressionistic. Highlight on her neck. Okay, I'm going to cut in around the neck area here with black and make this really dark. Just another coat of that black. And then right here, we're going to line this up with her shawl and dress. So right over, got that crease in there for her armpit, and then down in a V. It's not a really low V neckline though. And I'm going to come over here, pull, pull, a little bit of water. It's just going to make that fabric look kind of gathered and more sheer-like. So you can add some lines like this. And then we're going to go right over the space between her arm and the rest of her dress, leaving it kind of see-through. it goes down to about here. So just keep pulling with a little bit of water and it'll just end up looking see-through. Now what you can also do is to make it look a little bit more gathered and bunched, just take extra black and use the end of your brush to create those lines. Now we're going to have that fabric in our fingers. I'm going to pull it. And it is really black here from the cuff that comes right down to her hand. Then we're going to bring it from here and wrap it around, lining your brush up and kind of folding over to give it that gathered look. I'm going to wiggle some of the paint off to make it look a little bit more see-through here. And then come in with some white and yellow again. And add some more highlights. A little bit of water, white and yellow again. Another highlight right there. Kind of comes down into like a little triangle, rounded end. Just from where the light's hitting it. Collarbone. And then we're going to leave a little line right here for the indication of a little bit of a breast line or slight cleavage. Nothing too crazy. And then just soften the top. Okay, I'm going to add more black down in here. This is going to be thicker where it comes over. I'm going to start using some color now, guys. I'll be using some blue and some of my neon violet. I like these colors together. Thought this would be a fun combination. Okay, just reloading here. Want it to look like the fabric's kind of gathered along this edge too. So I kind of make it a little bit ripply. So I'm not overly blending the blue and the violet here. I'm just going to ripple through here. Add just a little bit of white. I know it's going to dry a little bit darker, so I wanted to make sure that I get some color that lasts once it's dry, just by using a little bit of white. So the angle that you're adding your lines, these lines on, is really going to play a role in helping to create that pose that she's making. So you want to have them on an angle like this, going down. And then they start to go up into this scarf. And notice how I'm not making it solid anywhere. I want to have that black through so that we've got this kind of velvety or almost velvety or satiny look to her dress. I'm going to add a little bit inside the hat too. Okay, a little bit of that blue, that violet. Just a hint. A little hint of on her face there. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit more, a little bit of my blue violet. Okay, now I'm going to go in to a little bit of turquoise and my neon yellow cool. And we'll just change up a little bit of the temperature here on these brightest highlights. See how you really don't have to add a lot of brush strokes for, you don't have to try too hard is what I'm saying here. With something kind of just more abstract like this. This area here under her neck and on the edge, and then I want to add that earring again, nice highlight. Add a little bit more of the cadmium yellow, make her earring look a little bit more gold. And over her exposed, more exposed skin here. Just add a little bit of that light yellow, light yellowy green. Can even add a little bit in between here, giving it more of a sheer look. I'm just going to switch over to a Filbert brush here and add a little bit of black under her chin. Make this a little bit darker in here, so a little bit more black, even a little bit of that violet in there. Across, and then go right down. A little bit of light there. Okay, so what I want to do, and I'm just deciding this right now, I want to add a little vine and some pretty flowers hanging here. So I'll start with, I think I'm going to start with the flowers. And I'm going to take my violet, both violets, the neon violet and the blue violet. Just going to scoop those up like that. And I'm just going to start adding simple little dabs for petals. Dab, dab, dab. I'll add one here, here, and here. I'll add a little bit of phthalo, all those colors. Have some flowers a little bit closer together so it looks a lot more natural. I've got a lot of pink here, so I haven't used that yet. I think I'll just mix that in there. A little bit to the top of her hat, like a ribbon that we can hardly see because it's way back there. I'm going to take a little bit more of my blue. Okay, and I'm going to come in and add a few highlights here. So a little bit of white. Really simple to create some instant flowers like this by adding just little dabs. Okay, so a yellow, bit of black, a little bit more in there. And we'll just start by kind of coming around there. And we'll make them show up a little bit better by adding a highlight soon. So just with more yellow and white. We'll just start to twist and swirl over. I'm just going to come around her earring here and just make it a little bit more arched out towards the right there. I'm going to add a little dab here. A few little dots and dabs for the center of my flowers. A little bit of whatever light color you want. White with the blue or the pink or the violet or all of them. I'll add a few more flowers right up in here. So I'll take my pink, violet, and blue. A little bit of white. Highlight some of these petals. I think I just want to have a little one down here as well. I'm just going to take a little bit of water and loosen up that paint on my brush. I'm just kind of swirling here for a few highlights. I'm going to go right underneath the hat with black. Add a little bit of a shadow here. I think these flowers are so pretty. I think I just want to add a little bit more. But just before I do that, I'll take my purpley mixture over here. And just brush that over her mouth. Just a little bit like that. And the side of her face. Well, this is turning out to be one of my favorite paintings I've done. I'm just going to continue around here with some more flowers. I think a big canvas can be really, really fun to play around with. So don't ever be scared of a big canvas. I think bigger canvases are a lot easier to paint on than small ones. Really small canvases are just too confining, and it's hard to get the details you want because you're trying to make everything so small. So it kind of, for me, takes away a little bit of my creativity. Just doing these little dabs in my flowers here, for the center of my flowers. Take some more violet, the blue violet, and I'll add some little highlights here. back over to my liner brush, and this is a #1 liner that I'm using. Just picked up the rest of my neon yellow cool here to use. I'll have this kind of wrapping around here. Twisting around, and then a little bit of white with yellow, and we'll add a highlight. So we're going to go partially over the vine. You want to have the dark shadow plus a little highlight. Make that purpley color again. Blue, pink. Don't forget to look below this video for a list of all the colors and brushes. And then I'm just going to go over her hat with a little bit more, some more highlights for that foliage. I want it to look like she's wearing a moss-covered hat. Okay, so back over to my oval mop brush. I'm going to take that yellow with a little bit of white. And I'm going to just start adding the last bit of highlights here. I'm going to turn my brush over, remember, so that we get that control that we need to. And we can sort of stay in the lines. Add a little bit on the top of her hat here, just for a highlight right there. I feel like I just want to have a few more flowers in here. I think I'm just having too much fun with this painting. So I'm going to have them coming around her arm here. Just a few, I won't do too many. So now I'll add a little highlight, a little bit more of that blue violet. And then a little dab in the center. A little bit of white there. And maybe we've got a few little flowers up here too around her hat. now I'll take a little bit of white, blue, pink. See how soft and pretty and bright they look up there? I want to add a few more brighter highlights on some of these here too. Okay, so now for the rest of the video, I'm going to be showing you how to turn her green gold skin tone into a natural, warmer, tan colored skin tone. And I'm going to also add some more flowers to the hat now. So the colors that I've added to my palette are burnt sienna, neon orange, neon yellow warm, some more titanium white, some more purple violet, neon violet, and I've also got some more phthalo blue. I'm going to mix these two colors together to make some really pretty shades of flower petals, different shades of the blue, the purple, and some pink. So if you guys are ready, let's begin. And I'm going to be painting her skin, doing a filter over her skin with my number 9 Filbert brush. I'll be using a smaller Filbert brush for the flowers on her hat. The first thing I want to do is get my brush a little bit wet. And I'm going to take a bit of white, place it right here, take some burnt sienna. And this right here is a nice skin tone as well. It all depends on what skin tone you're going for. So we could increase the burnt sienna and get a richer, darker tone there. And then if we take a little bit of our orange with some white and the burnt sienna, it's another shade. Just going to wash my brush off and show you another color. So we could take the neon yellow warm, a little bit of white, and I'll mix it in off the end here. So we've got a few different options, or you could have it really, really light just by increasing your white. Now, of course, there are so many other options for skin tones, but just with what we've got over here, we can create them. You can also get into skin tones with mixing a little bit of blue and purple and green, reds. It's kind of endless, all the different colors you can mix to get different shades and tones for your skin. Okay, so I'm just going to take all of these, mix them up now. And I'm just going to start applying. I'm going to need a little bit more water on my brush, so I'm going to thin the paint out slightly, but it's not dripping. So by doing this, we're creating a filter. I want to go right over all of the existing skin color. This is just the first layer. And already you can see from one side to the next, we're improving, we're warming up her skin here. I'm going to go ahead and add some more now. I'm going to use a little bit more of the colors and less white where I want it to naturally be darker in these shadow areas here. Take some more, a little bit more of the burnt sienna this time, but still really thin. I'm not applying a thick amount of paint. We're gonna go just under her hat where it's the darkest right there. Now I'm gonna take a little bit more with just a little bit of white, and gradually start making it brighter. Okay, now I'm going to take some more of those colors, start adding a little bit more, one layer at a time. Where it's supposed to be the brightest and the light will be hitting a little bit more, we'll use more white. More white and more of the yellow warm. So right in here and here. It's going to dry a little bit darker than this too. So if you want to go ahead and be a little bit more generous with your white, that might save you some time from having to go back and add more once it dries. Okay, now I'll just go, and because this is just very loose and somewhat abstract, I'm just gonna filter over with a little bit of this color here where her hand is. I'm going to take a little bit more white. And she's got some gloves on here. So we're just going to add a thin layer on the darker side because she's got like a lace or organza or mesh over top. So we're just gonna use less white and add just a little bit of a watered down transparent color here. And the reason why we've got the green underneath And I do think the green looked really neat. Kind of reminded me of those moss statues or figures that you see in ornate gardens in parks. But the green is a really good base. I'm just thinning this out even more here. And then right inside here, where her hand is curling in, right? It's going to be darker, so that's why there's a shadow in there, but I want to just incorporate a little bit of a darker brown color, burnt sienna. And I think I want to just come in here and continue with the little shawl or veil. So a little bit of watered down violet and blue. And we'll just pull that down. Let's add a little bit of white. That's pretty. Love adding a little bit of white to these two colors. It's just, we get these soft pastel tones that are really a nice balance to the deeper ones. And another reason for the green is that it's very complementary. I mean, just look how beautiful these colors look together. I'm going to come down here. Add a little bit more color around her hip area. I'm going to use number 4. This is from the Zen Royal and Lay Nickel series. And I'm just going to go around her mouth first a little bit. Now this is a smaller brush, so I can have a little bit more control. Give a little bit of light there on the side of her face. More highlights on her shoulder. Use a little bit of water. You don't want to add too much water, otherwise you're going to start to pull off the layers underneath. It'll affect that and kind of just disturb those layers of paint under there. Her nose somewhere in here, but mostly covered up. So I'm just going to add a little white area right there, and then I'm going to take my burnt sienna and add a little shadow in between. her lip. Okay, and cleaning my brush off, I'm going to go into my white, blue, and violet, and I'm just going to start making some simple, basic flower petals, just like we did down here. Just a little bit of water on my brush just to help loosen that up. Gently push and pull in, so you decide how big you want your flower petals to be. Then you can come in with a little bit of white inside. So I'm just going to paint a whole bunch, sort of like that. Each one's going to look a little bit different. Okay, I'll go take my white now. Then I'm going to layer over. I want the layered look. Take a bit of white. You could also use a little round brush for these flowers if you want. I always say, you know, just kind of experiment and see what you like the best and what you feel the most comfortable with. This is the brand that I'm using, Holbein, like I think I showed you guys earlier. I'll take a little bit of white now. I'll add another layer in here. Shorter strokes just to make those double blooms in there. And you can make different sizes. By making the flower petals bigger on one side and shorter like this on the other, it makes them look like they're turned on another angle to the side. Make these ones show up a little bit more now with a little highlight of white. I like adding a bunch of different sizes. I think it just makes it more interesting. See how I went with the curve of the hat here? So now we can just take a little bit of blue and just tap in, tap, tap, tap for the center of the flower. You can use a little bit of the violet as well. I'm just going to take a little bit more of these colors, blue, violet, and white. Add a little bit to her lips. Then just continue painting a few more flowers. Got a little dab of a highlight on the top there. Some more highlights. So you could pick any flowers that you want. You could add roses. I just put out a step-by-step tutorial on how to paint really simple roses. I've got lots on daisies, cherry blossoms. Got a lot of warm tones going on in here, so I want to kind of break that up and add a little bit more of this powdery blue, almost frosty grape color. And I'll pick up a little bit more of my violet. You get a really interesting effect when you just take a little bit of each color and you just go straight to the petals. You don't mix it all up to make one color. Where else could I layer over? Maybe add another one there. And we could freshen up this area and add a few more here as well. I'll add the finishing touches with a liner brush and a little dab of white, and we'll just tap, tap, tap for the center of these flowers. And you can make them any color you want. If you wanted a little bit of a yellow or a pink or orange. Remember to apply the white just to the tip of your brush. Then you can have a lot more control over it. And very little pressure. And before I finish this video, I'm going to show you how to use a round brush, and I'm just going to make a few more little flowers. Add some little ones in here. A little bit more paint. So you're just going to use the same technique. Push and pull in and let off. Paint your petals from the outside in. And I'm going to use this brush to add a few more highlights and layers inside some of these existing flowers, these larger ones. Again, you really want to have the paint loaded on the tip of your brush. And a little bit of white inside. Do one last layer over here now that this is pretty dry. A little bit of white, burnt sienna, and orange. So we've got that green gold underneath that's really going to balance out the warmth. So they're complementary. This painting is all finished. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today and watching this video. I can't wait to see your versions. Please look below for the links where you can share those and tag me in them. Have a wonderful day, happy painting, and I'll see you guys all very soon in my next video. Bye everybody!